Now, in case you're wondering what the latest and next big trends in fashion will be, well, look no further. SA Fashion Week is back and designers will be showcasing their spring-summer collections. The 2023 edition will be held at the Mall of Africa from Thursday next week. And the three-day event will feature a number of exciting shows. For more on this, we are now joined in studio by Jacques Bam, from the designer of the Bam Collective, and Hangwani Nengovhela from Rubicon. Hi to both of you. Thank you very much for joining us here on eNCA. First and foremost, you have brightened our studios, you've brightened our Saturday night, so we're grateful to have you.
Thank you.
SA Fashion Week, one of the biggest fashion platforms, if not the biggest in South Africa. As designers, what does it feel like showcasing there?
You know, I think for me, growing up, I always wanted to do fashion. Sometimes I say I was born to do fashion. So to me, it's always been a dream to be able to show at Fashion Week. And season after season, I'm just grateful that I've been able to build a team and to build a brand that can do that and that can show at Fashion Week and that can have the support of the SA Fashion Week team. I think it's an incredible experience, and season after season, it just gets better and more fun.
Yeah. Hangwani?
SA Fashion Week for me has been home, you know, for the past over almost 2 decades now.
Amazing.
And it's a great marketing platform for designers to be able to launch themselves and establish themselves and grow their brands. It's I love the way they produce, because it expresses how, you know, our work, our design aesthetics are able to be expressed, you know, magnificently on the platform, on the runway. And it's not just models that walk the runway, it's models that are able to, you know, to walk the runway and express our art of fashion.
And it's always amazing, even as a spectator, to sit there and watch these beautiful garments walking and strutting down. But as a designer, what goes into creating a collection for South African Fashion Week? It must not be easy. They will be showcasing the Spring-Summer 2023 collection, but where do you even start as a designer to put together a collection, rather, to showcase?
I think for me, I kind of always start from what the brand's about. I think for me that's the most important thing, right? Is I always sit and I think to myself, first of all, who's the customer currently? The customer keeps developing and we keep growing, and I think about the vision of the brand, and for me the goal season after season is to push that vision forward and to do something new and something exciting and to offer people something that they don't have, something that they don't have in their closet, something that can make them feel more confident and more excited about their day. I usually start by sketching. That's just kind of how I start. A lot of designers don't necessarily do that, and looking for fabrics, but it's a long process. I think the collection we're going to show next week, we started in January already.
Oh, wow.
So it's a very long process, back and forth, experimenting, testing out some things, and ultimately landing on a few garments that you really love. And for me, it's a feeling. I like to create from feeling and what I enjoy.
And for you, where do you start putting your collections together? What is sort of your inspiration, and then how do you channel that?
I mean, over the years for me, for Rubicon, it's been a journey, and I would say I discovered what we call my philosopher's stone. And my philosopher's stone was my heritage. It's my heritage. And how I was brought up, and the history of both my maternal and paternal side, because that's what has influenced my sense of being in terms of how I conduct myself. And for me, you know, fashion is a form of art expression through clothing. So I always go back to the history of perhaps maybe a region where my clan comes from. And there's like wealth of knowledge. Likely for my side, from my paternal side, they have there's been something that has been a report that has been documented. I always go back to Mapungubwe, the history of Mapungubwe, and express the ways of how they interacted with each other. You know, perhaps maybe reimagine the Asian people coming in there for, you know, to trade, or like now, for instance, for the latest collection is West meets Africa. In terms of how they traded, perhaps maybe they influenced their ways of design aesthetics in Mapungubwe. And I wouldn't want to talk much about it, but I don't want to sell more of what I'll be designing for the collection. But it's always been my heritage, and also the history of fashion. I love to go back to to the different eras of history, like the 1920s, the 1950s. I find that so invigorating. It helps me to to reimagine, to dream, and bring something that is so ancient and modernize it and make women feel beautiful.
I love that. Well, SA Fashion Week is always an exciting time, so we look forward to see what both of you will be showcasing. But just for the young, aspiring designer maybe watching this evening, where do you start? I know, Hangwani, you studied at a university in China. You studied clothing, textiles, and some other things as well. Just talk us through, is it vital for a young designer to study fashion and to study design, or would a route of just starting creatively out of your home be acceptable as well? How does these things work? How does a young designer get to your sort of platform?
I think for me, I went to go study. I don't necessarily think that it's always needed to go study if you can't. I think being able to study is amazing, and it's a privilege, and it kind of does fast track your career. But I found that I learned a lot more by going out and working. I learned all of my business skills from the brands that I worked for when I just kind of exited university, and all of my knowledge around sourcing fabrics and my knowledge around how to make garments sellable, how to produce something of good quality. All of these things I learned from working for brands, reputable brands. And my advice for young designers is always not to jump the gun. I think a lot of us get so excited and we kind of just want to launch our brand. Sometimes I wonder if I launched too early myself. I think we should take our time, and I think we should go out and learn as much as we can. The best advice I ever got was to learn on someone else's kind of account and not on your own, So I think it's important to go out and to go learn first before you start doing anything. And I think that also gives you the opportunity to kind of build up just a little nest egg of funds to kind of start your first collection. And really, if you are able to have the honor of working for some of the great designers like Hangwani we've had for years in our industry, it's an incredible wealth of knowledge. And I think as a young designer myself, it's our responsibility to kind of take what the designers before us have done and kind of pave it forward, you know?
Yes, 100%. And where would you say or advise a young designer, someone who's got ambitions of one day showcasing at SA Fashion Week? How do they start? Where do they start?
I think it's very important for anything in life that not to take any shortcuts, and to work at your craft, because your work will speak for itself. Rapid growth is, yes, it can work for for a period, but you need to be very certain that you've got all the right resources to back it up, because the business side of it, the entire value chain of fashion, it's massive. And you might think, when you see us out there and people being glamorous, there's a whole lot of things that have gone behind the scenes. And at the end of the day, there are families that are involved. It's a whole value chain. And the process to get the end product to the consumer, it's just on another level. And you need to make sure that it's your right target market, not because Jacques is catering for a certain type of target market, then it has to be for Rubicon. I mean, the pie is quite big. Yeah, it's quite big.
There's space for everyone.
There is space for everyone.
Okay, so you guys are showcasing at the end of this week into the weekend. Obviously, you can't tell us too much about what you will be showcasing, but you've brought some beautiful garments in this evening for us to have a look at. I think the first three there on the white hangers, those belong to you, Jacques, and then the other three is Hangwani's. Just talk us through, Jacques. Let's start with you, maybe. Talk us through these three pieces and why they showcase the BAM Collective so well.
I think for me, what we do at the BAM Collective is our kind of motto is that we take a spirited approach to luxury fashion. I find that oftentimes when you look at the luxury fashion space, you find that it becomes very serious, and I believe there should be a bit of room to play, while still keeping it very chic and the quality really great. You know what I mean? Space to express yourself in a way where you don't feel you don't always constantly have to wear a boring black suit. You can wear a strange curvy pink
Well,
one.
you look fabulous.
Thank you.
He always does.
Yes, it seems that way.
I appreciate it.
I love
Thanks.
it.
So we play a lot with color, we play a lot with print and proportion and playful details, but we try to do it in a way where the garment still makes sense. So if you look at the first garment, for instance, it's very recognizable as a blazer, like any other blazer, but it has really interesting kind of 3D effect details.
Love those sleeves.
Thanks. They're quite fab. I love them too. It's one of my favorite techniques that I've kind of played around with and developed. As the collections go along, you'll see a bit more of it in the new collection that's coming up. That collection specifically was inspired by the relationships that we have with our bodies, and I kind of wanted to reinterpret, you know, placing things on parts of the bodies that we often overlook, like your forearms or your stomach, or you know, and kind of celebrate those parts of our bodies as well as being just as beautiful as any other part. The third dress is also from the same collection and also has this kind of detail on the hips, which is a place that I think a lot of people want to hide sometimes, and I like accentuating it and playing it up, and that specifically is also, we work with a lot of local suppliers as well. That's a print that was printed locally with 100% eco ink. And then the middle dress is just a little sneak peek for the upcoming collection.
Oh, wow.
A little tiny, just a little tiny one.
I love that.
Yeah, it's a knit that we had done locally as well in Cape Town, using 100% cotton. But I'm not going to say too much more about the collection. It's going to be playful, it's going to be fun. It's called Aestheticism, and it's inspired by the idea of what makes you feel beautiful, and the idea that vanity means different things to different people, and everybody is allowed to feel kind of beautiful in their own way.
I love
whether
that.
be wearing no makeup or full face of
Whatever
makeup.
it is that you want to do.
Exactly, that's kind of the inspiration for the collection, and yeah, I hope everyone can come watch it. It's going to be really great. It's going to be really great.
It's going to be beautiful.
And then there's these 3 stunning Rubicon pieces as well. Hangwani, just talk us through what we are looking at.
So with this collection, I was reminiscing from, you know, it's nostalgia, especially, you know, there's a area in Venda called PPD Waterfall.
Okay.
And the print is inspired by the natural landscape of that PPD waterfall. Because PPD waterfall serves for its different purposes. Other people come for picnics. Other people, it's ladies that come from the villages to come and, you know, do their laundry there. So I grew up actually going there during Christmas time with my uncles. So I've actually experienced the myth of origin of that area as well. So I've brought in the natural landscapes of the waterfall itself, and what the myth they talk about that waterfall specifically, that it's got, you know, there are Zwipo in Venda. It's things that are that serve as something that you know will scare you. So I just imagine maybe it's a mermaid. So I came up with, you know, like the scales on the, you know, with my faux leather that I've created there. You can tell that I've created you know, different types of art form, you know, and shapes of leaves, and to depict perhaps the mermaid that came from that waterfall.
Amazing.
And the first dress is made out of knit and faux leather. It's actually I enjoy dressing women different forms of body shapes for women, and for them to express themselves through my designs. So the first one, the knit one, is it's a beautiful hugging, you know, dress. You feel really beautiful in it. You feel transformed, because I need people to feel transformed in my creations. And then the next one, it's a full dress with the printed effect. Like I also work with local, you know, suppliers in terms of the print that I've created on the dress, and it has a cape over that you can wear over to create this regal effect for a woman who understands themselves. And the next one is made out of literally like faux leather to try and depict, you know, the mermaid perps that came from that waterfall.
Stunning.
And for the runway, I had used twins for that dress. Yeah, so it depicted how, you know, how perhaps the movement, just to express how, you know, how these people came out of that river.
I love that. Well, all of the pieces are absolutely stunning. If you want to leave the rail here for me, you may do that. No complaints from my side. But listen, SA Fashion Week is happening next week. If people want to watch, are they able to buy tickets? What is the process of coming out and supporting local designers? How does the whole thing work?
Sure. So SA Fashion Week will be hosted at the Mall of Africa this year, where that's been our home for a few seasons now.
Yes.
My show specifically will be the last show. It's 9 o'clock next week, Friday. In order to come to the show, tickets are available on Quicket, or you can just go to any of SA Fashion Week socials or website to get the links, and you can purchase tickets to watch any designer show, really. And usually it's booked into slots, so it's very rare that you would go and just watch one designer.
Okay.
Oftentimes, if you buy a ticket, it might be 4 designers in a show. I think you might be 2 designers in your show.
I've got I'm a 3 designers show. So there's Jacques from Black Coffee and eNCA from SC Apparel.
Amazing. So you're on day 3?
I'm day 2.
Day 2?
I'm also day 2, Friday.
Okay.
Friday
Amazing. So
at
both
7
of you
for
on the
us.
same day.
Yeah.
I hope that our viewers will go out and purchase tickets and support. But thank you very much to the both of you for coming in and chatting to us and showcasing your beautiful garments. And all the best.
Pleasure.
For your showcases this weekend. I'm going to be there, I think, on the Friday.
On the Friday.
So
Wow.
I'll be there to watch.
Yeah.
And thank you again for joining us and
Of course.
making our studio colorful and bright on this Saturday night. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you
It's
for
my
having
absolute
us.
pleasure. That was Jacques Bam from the Bam Collective and Hangwani Nengovhela from Rubicon, 2 of the fashion designers that will be showcasing at the weekend at SA Fashion Week. It's time for a quick break. We'll have more news when Newsnight returns. Stay with us.